One of my favorite animals is a squirrel. Oh, look, for the Löwenherz. It's from Caroline for Christmas. She wasn't here for Christmas, though. But she did send me some Hugo Boss shoes. Never sent shoes. Never buy shoes for a man and send it in the mail. No, I don't think so. Not that it didn't fit. It's just not my style. Anyway, to get back to this rotary valve trumpet I was talking about in the last YouTube. Mike Albert, my cameraman, said, I've got to go a little bit slower when I show something so that he can focus a little bit in on what's going on there. And I think it's important for you to have a good look at this, what's going on here. Well, these were handmade, and they look a little bit like, well, what's the guy doing? But they have a special function, and they have to move the slide very consistently so that your embouchure doesn't shake when you set a slide or move it during playing. And because they're triggers, there is always tension on them. They have springs. Whereas a standard other kind of a trumpet, like here's an E trumpet. I'm going to be playing something on that later, maybe Hummel. You can see that they have rings and the slides move completely differently. The slides move back and forth, and you can set the slide and there's no tension there because of it. The slide should move a little better. Oh, I think I probably... Well, this instrument plays in 4 keys, and so it's very difficult to get all the slides moving exactly as well as you would for one trumpet. It has 4 sets of slides, 4 bells, 4 lead pipes. It's an D, E flat, E, F trumpet. But I'll talk about that later. Coming back to this rotary valve trumpet. Now, people might ask you, what are these keys about? They're not water keys. Well, just like with the natural trumpet, you can use, if you know where the nodal holes are, this is an Ager trumpet with a Renaissance bell, like that one up there, Renaissance bell. This is a technical drawing of an instrument that was built by Jan Sander in Hanover. You can see 1623, very nicely colored by Katja Saval, the daughter of Fru, earlier girlfriend of mine. Anyway, you can see that this bell is very conical, not like a more modern bell like that one, even though this is from 1746, the famous Johann Leonhard Eyer III from Nuremberg. This is much earlier. We're talking about 120 years difference in the development of trumpets between just those two. But what I like about this trumpet is that I can change the bell, just like the C trumpet I showed in a couple of YouTubes earlier. And I'll get back to that too. I'm going to be going back and forth. These YouTubes are only 15 minutes long for technical reasons that I won't talk about now. But in any event, I wanted to explain a little bit about these holes. Now, these holes correspond very much to the same holes that are on places here on other trumpets, like this rotary valve trumpet. So the concept of these holes and opening these holes has been then transported to this instrument. Now, natural trumpets don't have holes. This is what one calls a Baroque trumpet, which is a compromise. The idea is to improve the intonation, and I'll explain how that works. This is a standard Baroque mouthpiece. This is my B1 model. And I play a very big mouthpiece and a very big bore. This is about a 5.4 hole, millimeters. And in any event, to explain how these holes work. See, if I don't cover the holes, it sounds like that. That's a C, C, and where intonation is C. This is I guess an 8-foot trumpet, 8 feet long. And so you get a C out of it. C, E, G, C is what I'm playing. That's the 7th overtone that I added to it. So 8, 6, 8, 5, I'm so stupid. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, those are overtones. The lower one is the 4th overtone, which means 4 waves. The instrument then resonates in 4 waves, and so it has maximal and minimal pressure points within the pipe. This is a little Amati water key that I added. Doesn't affect the tone at all, but it is a lot easier when you want to get water out of the horn in a big hurry. I have to think a little bit more, but I shouldn't have gone out with my friend last night, that guy from Ireland. Boy, he likes whiskey. In any event, what I was going to say is that these hold positions are very important because they influence certain overtones. Starting from the 8th overtone, which is that C, and I'm going to play in this room, or this direction, so Mike can really see what I'm doing. So if this E, which I opened the hole for, that's the 8th is the C, and then the 9th is a D, and then the 10th is the E, but it's a little flat. So if I open this hole here, I can reduce the pressure at a certain point, and it moves the wave a little bit enough so that it reflects in a different point and the intonation goes up. Or down, depending on how big the hole is and where it's placed. So these are not directly on the nodal points, otherwise the sound wouldn't work. Sometimes you can open a hole and you don't hear any change of the sound intonation at all. There's no intonational change there. And you just hear that the sound gets a little thinner when I open the hole. Now, I taught Baroque trumpet here for several years, 15, 20 years at the university here, and I enjoyed playing the instrument quite well. Let me just play something that's not too boring for you. I've been preparing for a concert that I'm hoping to be able to do on the 7th of May with, here's a very interesting sonata, one of the very first sonatas ever written for trumpet. It's not, Fantini would be older, but this is Giovanni Buonaventura Viviani from 1678. So that's about this direction here. It's not, we're not, at the time of Bach. Bach is born in 1685, so it's even before Bach. But playing a little bit on that. It's edited by Ed Tarr, Dr. Edward H. Tarr. And he's unfortunately died last year. A very fine gentleman and a scholar and very, very influential in the development of the natural trumpet and its modern reintroduction into modern concert use. Anyway. Now the natural trumpet has a lot of resistance. The pipe is actually twice as long as a standard C trumpet. Here's a modern C trumpet. Actually, this is a hybrid cancel basic can stool with a few of my ideas added to it. I was trying to improve it. So I'll just play a little bit on this C trumpet, and you can see that it's got pipes, it's got slides, of course, and valves, but it's half as long as this. And it sounds like this. I'll find a place to put my natural trumpet down, but right here is good. Not natural trumpet, Baroque trumpet. Now you see I'm moving the slides. I don't know if Mike was getting that, but I'm moving the slides to adjust the overtones that I'm using. It's actually, a trumpet like this is 7 natural trumpets in one. If I put the thing just sideways and played it, there's just natural overtones. Put the second valve down, which is a half a tone lower, and I've got a natural trumpet that has a half a tone lower. Let me just try it. Hold this thing very funny, see if it works. First valve is 1 tone lower. I'm adding this pipe. And this is 1.5 tone if I put down the third valve valve. Okay. Now, using different valve combinations, it means I'm really jumping from one overtone series to the other to look for the best intonation to present the music in the most consistent way as possible. And because the overtone series starts an octave higher because it's half as long, the sound is much brighter. Even though I have a large bell and you know, I'm playing a big mouthpiece too. As soon as you start adding valves to it, you get a lot of cylindrical pipe, which also makes the instrument sound a little brighter. But then it becomes more like a natural trumpet. Anyway, once again, now I'm moving the first valve slide to get I'm taking that overtone, which is in the 1, 2, 3, I guess it's the third overtone series, 4th overtone series, the combination of the two things, and moving the first valve slide. It's difficult to explain. I haven't really thought too much about how to explain these things works. I just do it. But in any event, moving that slide to this position allows me to place that E in its proper position between the C and G so that I get a good sounding or correct sounding intonation for a C major chord, C, E, G. If you can't move the first valve slide on your trumpet, you can't play the E 1 and 2 in tune. Now you might say, well, I could always play the third valve and hope that the slide's long enough. Well, that's how that works. Well, that sounds a little flat to me. So I'd rather use an instrument where I can use a valve combination and move the slide and down to where it has to be, than just try to use simple little valve combinations and lip the notes around or manipulate the tongue position to change the compression inside of the mouth and therefore influence the intonation. That's always possible, but it's the problem is the consistency. And now I'm running out of time for this YouTube, so Mike says I should stop this YouTube and continue right after with the man with the horns. The man with the horns, Richard Carson Steuart, and I hope you tune in next week again for the next in this series, and I'll be talking about comparing instruments, what valve sections are about, what tuning instruments are about, how to move slides and whatever, and I hope it's interesting for you, because I'm really trying to do my best just for you.